Hey, this is a bit of a weird upload for this channel. It's going to be kind of a one-off video, but this is an unboxing video. I know I don't really review toys on this channel or anything like that. I did, though, make a Godzilla toy collection video back in July. And in that video, I talked about how I really wanted the 1200 Celsius Godzilla figure by Super7 in their Ultimates line. It was unfortunately discontinued, and it was made unavailable. So the only real copies you could get were on like Mercari for around like $350. Frankly, I did not want to pay that much for this figure. So I just kind of assumed, well, I guess I'll never get this figure in my collection. That was until Twitter user Repod Reptiles. I hope I said that right. It might be Repod Reptiles, I'm not too sure. They tweeted at me and said, "Nice to see this is returning in stock. Been hearing a lot of people kicking themselves for not getting this guy the first time around," and they tagged me in this tweet. So I immediately bought it because somehow, for some reason, Super7 brought it back. And now I get my chance to unbox a Godzilla figure that I have wanted for however long this figure has existed. I almost said years, but I don't know how long this figure has actually been around. So after finally getting the thing unboxed, I immediately was impressed by the presentation of the packaging. I love this art style that they have. It really works well with what the figure actually is. And then it took me a bit to actually figure out, okay, you got to kind of like grab it and shake it in order to get it off the actual box. And here's the actual box itself. It's a bit hard to kind of see the figure on the inside thanks to my glorious lighting, but on the back here, we've got a very detailed description of Godzilla vs. Destoroyah, basically giving context from the movie as to why Godzilla looks like this, why Godzilla is melting down. Zooming in here, you can see the figure itself, which, by the way, I'll talk more about it as this video kind of moves along, but incredible sculpt work. Absolutely love that you could see his rib cage and the insides. It's so gross, it's so nasty. And then here you can see me trying to figure out how to actually get the thing open, and then I use scissors, and I kind of butchered it, but you know what, that's okay. Roast me in the comments, I don't care. Now, I should state that I have never purchased a Super7 figure before, at least an Ultimate figure like this. I do own some of like the little 3.5-inch figures. Like I own Mogira, I own Gigan, a couple Godzillas, Jet Jaguar, but I don't actually have any of the 6-inch ones, so I was a bit skeptical on how the quality would be. Not because I don't trust Super7 or anything, but more just because I've never bought from them, and so there's sort of that inherent skepticism built in already. I wasn't really a big fan of SH Monster Arts because a lot of their figures felt very flimsy, and I was hoping that given the similar price range, this figure would at least be a little bit heavier and more sturdy, and thankfully, as we'll get into later, it very much is sturdier, which I really enjoy. Something I noticed while unboxing this figure was just how heavy the tail was. That already made me super happy. One of my biggest gripes with some of the NECA Godzilla figures was just how weird and like flimsy the tails felt, and how trying to like get them into Godzilla's body was just a really like almost Herculean task at points. Like it came with directions, I believe, to like heat up the tail to actually get it to stick on to the Godzilla, and it was just a hassle, all things considered. But you didn't have to do that here, as I'll show later. Something else I do like is just how articulated the tail is. Like if you want to pose this guy in any way imaginable with the tail, like you can really do it bit by bit by bit. Every single one of those little indentations, or it's hard to really describe it, but each one of those little like ridges on the tail are articulated. So if you want, you can have it be any way that you want. And now here I am really struggling to get this thing out of the packaging. I don't know why I struggled so much with this. Maybe it's because I have the motor skills of a toddler, but yeah, it was not the easiest thing in the world, and you're watching a very sped up version of it because, frankly, it's kind of embarrassing. After finally getting him out of the package, he felt so heavy in my hands, which is a very good sign, I think, as I want these figures to be very durable, very heavy. The one thing I was a bit concerned about was that left arm. I was worried it would, like, snap off. Thankfully, though, it is still very well put together. That was just one big concern that I had. was, you know, how durable is it? If I try to bend the elbows, they're gonna like snap off. You know, I didn't really know how articulated this was because, again, I've never purchased a Super 7 figure before. Taking a look now at the actual paint job and the sculpt job, this is incredible. I love how this looks. I love the translucent look of the orange bits. On top of that too, I love how you could see part of the skull. I know that it came with a separate head where it's the Godzilla skull without any like flesh bits on it, but I prefer just this version where it's kind of half and half like Two-Face. And yeah, I like how on the right hand you can see the index finger is completely like missing its skin. It's really horrifying in a really, really awesome way. Like everything about this just screams, I want to be displayed on a shelf as the centerpiece of a collection. So here I am now putting the tail on the actual body, and there it is, it's on. No need to, you know, take an iron and like try to like, you know, heat it up to like squeeze it in. It's just, it pops right in. And that is wonderful in my opinion, because that is one of my biggest pet peeves with Godzilla figures, when the tail isn't attached right away. The paint job is incredible, the sculpt work is phenomenal. One thing I will say though is that the price tag was a bit high. I can't really fathom purchasing like another Godzilla figure from Super 7 at this specific price for what I paid. I find that maybe if this was like 40, 50 bucks, I'd be like, yeah, it's justified. But here, not so much. The design is cool, but that's all it really has kind of going for it in that regard. I just wish that it wasn't as expensive. I understand why it's expensive, but still. And here we have another look at the rib cage again. Just so disgusting with like the green and yellow chunks, you know, in between all of his like intestines. It's so wild. As a kid, I always loved the Godzilla anatomy posters that existed. You can find them on like Google Images back in the day, and those were just so cool. This kind of gives me those same sort of vibes of, you know, the anatomy of a monster being dissected, all that type of stuff. So cool. Something else I really like is the way that the hand is actually positioned. That kind of reminds me of Shin Godzilla in a way, that one shot where he's like, you know, looking out and the camera's pointed up at him and he's got like his hand kind of like curled up. Love that. Overall though, I do think that this might be my favorite Godzilla figure in my entire collection. There are a few that I might put ahead of it just for nostalgia's sake, but beyond that, like, this is incredible, and I cannot wait to showcase and display this figure on my guitar amp. And yeah, it's incredible. So I highly recommend that you go and pick this figure up as soon as possible, because I don't know how long it will be in stock again, and you might have to pay $350 for it. Anyways, I'm Cole McCormick. You're watching Firewood Media. Again, I really don't do toy reviews, so if you saw this and are expecting to see more from this channel, don't. Like, if you're subscribing just for toy reviews, please don't subscribe. We do make Godzilla videos here, but they are more retrospectives about the movies, so if you're interested in that, go check those out. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Peace out.